There are other chapters yet to be written in the Icesave saga, but Moody says not for another year. Senior credit officer Kenneth Orchard joins us now. Kenneth, why did you say that?
Well, there's a very short time window now for all sides to come to an agreement. They've got perhaps a few weeks, and then we're going to be full on into the election season in both the UK and the Netherlands. And I think it will be impossible for those governments to come to an agreement during that period. And so,
but what happens in the next few weeks? They could be critical, couldn't they?
Yes, they're very critical. The first thing that we are watching is political stability in Iceland. Whether the current coalition government can hold together, maintain its majority. Both the finance minister and the prime minister have said that they do not intend to resign, but it's clear that the coalition is fraying a bit at the edges. It's under a lot of strain. The second thing we're going to be watching is whether they are able to get those negotiations back on track. The UK Treasury has indicated that they did put a new offer on the table last week, and they're waiting for a response from Iceland. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week.
What danger is the country in now in terms of getting IMF funding?
Well, the UK and the Dutch have effectively blocked the IMF program. They're not allowing the financing to come from the Nordic countries, and the IMF have said that the program could not continue without that financing. And so the IMF program is essentially off track until that happens.
So you're suggesting all they've got left, as the president was there, was cod?
Well, not just that, but they also do have aluminium, which is perhaps the country's savior. If they can get the IMF program back on track, then there are some good prospects for new investment in that sector, which should help them over the next couple of years. But I think it's very important also to recognize that the situation there is not precarious immediately. They certainly have enough foreign exchange reserves. The currency is stable. The government is able to finance itself in the local markets. What we are really concerned about is towards the end of 2011, when they have a couple of large foreign debt repayments coming due. And if there's no deal by then the situation will become much more difficult.
I think you've got them one notch above junk. Is there any chance of them actually, your rating dropping to a junk level?
Yes, we've got them at Baa3 stable, which is the lowest investment grade rating, and we have stated that the rating is under a lot of negative pressure currently. As I mentioned, we will be watching both political stability and the negotiations in the next couple of weeks. And if we don't see progress there, then it's possible that we could take rating action.
Okay, well, we've got other ratings agencies saying they could be following your suit as well with regard to this. But politically, I mean, how much of this is political in Iceland, this rejection, this referendum?
Oh, it is incredibly political. People were just voting against the Icesave, but they were voting against the current government and a variety of other issues. But people there are obviously very angry that they have to repay this money that was lost by the Icelandic banks, and they feel that it's very unjust. But at the same time, it seems that most of the population accepts that they have to repay it. The big question is on what terms.
It's just like a temper tantrum, throwing your toys out of the pram for the time being, but knowing at the end of the day, you know, are you sure that they will end up having to foot this bill?
I think people felt that they needed to make a political statement. Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what about other countries? Could this, you know, sort of set of principles also go to other countries around the world too?
Well, the situation in Iceland is very unique, I think, from that perspective, in that the liabilities compared to the size of the economy are just horrendous. Other governments have lost or had to repay a lot of money to the banks, but Iceland is just such a small economy compared to how large its banks are.
Would EU accession help it in any way? Or would they be allowed to accede to the European Union?
Well, they will be allowed to join the EU if they can come to a new agreement with the Dutch and the British. They probably will not allow that to happen otherwise. EU accession would really help them because it could allow them to adopt the euro. Right now they've got very strict capital controls in place in order to stabilize their currency. It's unclear whether or not they are going to be able to remove those capital controls and return to a normal currency regime unless there's a clear path to euro adoption, and that means EU membership.
Kenneth Orchard, thank you very much indeed for joining us.